guys, welcome back to your favorite construction channel. Yes, in this video we are going to basically be discussing what size of a house can actually fit on a 50 by 100 plot. Yes, we are going to be discussing whether it's a storeyed house or whether it's a bungalow, because at least the average person at one point in your life, at least if you intend to have a house, you might want to consider buying a plot, and for most of the time the standard plot is basically 50 by 100, mostly in Uganda, even in Kenya, even in Rwanda. Sometimes in Rwanda it's usually quantified in terms of square meters. But what a 50 by 100 is, it's actually measured in feet. So we have 50 feet and 100 feet, which translates in meters to 15.2 meters by about 30.5 meters. So you'll find in total it's going to be having a total of about 460 square meters. So at least for most of the average person looking to build maybe their starter house, and for some people it might even be their dream house, like for good, they might never have to build again. So you might want to first consider what can actually fit on a 50 by 100 plot. So in this video we are going to basically be breaking down, and we are going to of course be using a few samples. Our team has prepared these projects that you can see on my screen, which are somewhat similar, but it's just for purposes of illustrating for you what size of house would fit on a 50 by 100 plot, whether it be a 3-bedroom, whether it be a 4-bedroom, whether it be a 5-bedroom, both in the bungalow format and also in the storeyed format. So I'm just going to be taking you through so that before you make a decision on maybe buying a plot, or before you raise your expectations on what can fit on a 50 by 100 plot, or before you lower your expectations of what can actually fit on a 50 by 100 plot, you might want to follow through this video and have something or two that you can pick from this video, okay? So without wasting a lot of time, our team has prepared these sample projects, some of which are actually already being constructed, but these have been purely prepared for purposes of presentations, and we might not be able to present some other projects that would have been better suited for this presentation, for purposes of keeping the privacy of our clients and also not sharing so much their work on the internet. Yeah, so for this is just for presentation. You might also want to mind about the colors and all that. Don't mind about them. These are really unrendered projects and they're just in their raw format. Okay, so I want us to focus on looking at how the functionality of space is, and also how best a 50 by 100 plot can actually be used to have maybe just a standard home. Yeah, so to head right into the video and not waste much time, let me just run a cut through here so you can see. So all these plots you see here, there's 50 feet and then there's 100 feet on this side. So this plot is the same 50 by 100, 50 by 100, 50 by 100, and this one is slightly bigger than 50 by 100. It's in total about 16.5 meters by 30 meters, which means on the 50 feet side it's slightly longer. Let's say it's about 55 feet or 56 feet. Okay, so just use that for purposes of illustration. Now to begin with, I'll begin with something which is just a 3-bedroom house. I think a 3-bedroom house is one of the commonest configurations of houses, at least in this country. A 3-bedroom house should be able to have a small family, just a simple family can be able to fit in as a single family house, you know. So as you can see, we have a little compound here, which is I think the most spacious in all these four, or the second most spacious. So you can see you're able to park 2 cars. You could even still park 4 or 5 cars and still have some green around. But in this arrangement, we have a living room, just sizable enough really. Then we have a dining space here that overlooks into the kitchen space, and then we have a foyer. When you pass through there, we have a foyer here that comes, and then you access the master bedroom from here. As you can see, the master bedroom has a walk-in closet. It has some wash hand basins here. It has a small bathroom, and then it also has a small toilet here. Of course, if you combine all these in one space, it could still save more space, so you could have more space. Yeah, but then also we have a bedroom here, as you can see, and then we have a bedroom here, and then here we also have a separate shower and toilet. Of course, also if you chose to combine them, you'd save a little more space, but in some scenarios people might want to separate them to avoid the congestion during those peak hours, maybe early in the morning when someone needs to use the toilet and the other one needs to use the shower room at the same time and stuff like that. Yeah. So with this configuration, you can see it's really simple. You have a small kitchen here, you have a balcony at the back, but of course this bedroom here is self-contained, as you can see. Then we have space at the back. We have about 2.5 to 3 meters, and then we have the DSQs, the domestic servant quarters, which are about 2 of them. And then there's a small outside kitchen here, and there's a small store here, which can also act as a power room, you know. Then we have a small laundry outside here and a small toilet. Really something simple. Of course, for most of the cases, according to the building regulations, these structures here are really so close to the boundary wall. Something that is not really allowed as per the building regulations. But like you know, in our country, anything is possible. So for most of the people, they really hardly ever declare this on paper to show that they are going to have buildings attached to the boundary wall. But at the end of the day, because of the limited space that's there, you find that we have to attach buildings on the boundary wall. Yeah, but that's basically just a standard 50 by 100 with a 3-bedroom. Then the other 3-bedroom we have is actually this one here, which is also seated on the same plot, 50 by 100, with just a little bit of a different, more different configuration. Yeah, if I were to show you the 3D of it, if I were to do like this, so you can be able to see the 3D, generating 3D, you can see this one is a little bit different from the first one that we've just been discussing. Yeah, but now we are now going to also look at the plan, which is also slightly different, actually entirely different from the former one. So if I bring in my cut again, as you can see, you will notice that still you have a living room here with enough light coming from the front door, and then also we have basically like a hallway, and then we have a dining here, which also has a very large door facing into the back balcony, and through the dining you can also access the kitchen, which is on this side, as you can see. Then we have a master bedroom that is slightly not as fancy as the former master bedroom, with just a balcony at the front, with enough bed space, and also self-contained. You can see this one has used a bit of less space because we have everything in one room, as you can see. Then of course it's a small pantry that is just in the corner of the kitchen, something quite innovative and something that might save a lot of space in the kitchen. Of course at the back we have this small room here that can act as a store. It can act as a power room. A power room is basically a room where sometimes you put in certain things like the DVRs for cameras, you put in some batteries for solar systems and things like that, or you can as well just use it as a store but have a rack that can have all those other things. Then this one has a bit of much smaller domestic servant quarter. You can see just a small laundry, a small toilet, and a small room for, you know, for the caretaker, whoever is living around. And you can see this one was pushed a little bit to the back, and there's not much space for other things or other rooms like an outside kitchen and things like that. Yeah, so as you can see, it's quite a simple one. There's enough compound space. You can park 2 cars, you can park 3 cars, you can park 4 cars, you can have steps in your compound and something like that. You know, I think this would be a better configuration for a 3-bedroom house. Of course, this one is just assumed to be on a hilly terrain. That's why you can see that there's a step right here in between the level down and the level up. Yeah, but if you're to go, as you can see, if you're to go bigger and have a 4-bedroom house, you might not have much compound space, as you can see. Of course, here in this scenario, we have 1 car here, another car here, but you can see if you want a compound where kids can drive their bicycles around, the space in this scenario might be limited. This is actually a 4-bedroom. So to see as well, you can see for most of these houses on a 50 by 100, we don't have a lot of flexibility in the design in terms of having a foyer that is in between the living room and the dining, that kind of foyer that people don't always have to enter right through into the living room, you know, because the space is a bit limited. So if you want a lot of liberty, you might want to consider something much bigger than a 50 by 100. So as you can see, we have our living room here, we have our dining here, we have our kitchen arrangement here, then we have the master bedroom, which is here, but of course it's accessed after into this foyer. So when you access the master bedroom, you have your walk-in closet here, you have the shower here, and then also you have the master bedroom space, as you can see. Then of course with this arrangement we added just a few more rooms that someone might need, like a small study. You know, you could put in your desks here and all that, and computers and stuff like that, and have it as a study room. But of course here there's a bedroom here, and both these bedrooms are sharing this bathroom. But this bedroom here is actually self-contained. So we have a total of 4 bedrooms, and then there is a small boys' quarter in this case, which was attached to the main house for purposes of saving space, and then of course and money as well. And it is also self-contained as well. Okay, so in this scenario we could there are many ways in which we could have done it. We could still make the toilet accessible from outside, you know, stuff like that, but that is anyway very highly subjective. So as you can see, this is basically just a simple 4-bedroom house. Then also there is this last one, which I think is a modification of what most of you have seen this channel. For those who've been following for quite some time, we shrunk it a bit to fit on a 50 by 100, but still could not fit. It's actually a 4-bedroom house. So as you can see, the distance from here to here, it is not 50 feet in this case, it's about 55 feet. And still you can see, if you know from the original design, we had a small balcony here, which we still can't have because the space is not that much for a 50 by 100. But it's quite a simple, let's say, generally spacious, not too spacious, but just enough 4-bedroom house with a living room, dining, kitchen, with the laundry and the pantry, and then also having access to bedrooms, all as you can see. I'm not going to discuss this one so much because most of you who've watched this project must be familiar with this project. Most of you who watch this channel, sorry. Then we also have the domestic servant quarters attached to the house, but at the back of course, and also with a toilet here, as you can see. So I think that was really quite simple and enough. So we are now going to go to the configuration where we have storeyed houses in question. Okay. Also, before we begin to discuss the storeyed house configurations of what kind of house can fit on a 50 by 100, I would like us also discuss plots that are equivalent to a 50 by 100 in terms of size, because, like, you know, a 50 by 100 plot is just about 11.5 decimals. So some plots might be exactly 11.5 decimals, or might be the equivalent to a 50 by 100 in terms of square meters, but the orientation might not be the same. I will give an example of a plot like this one. As you can see, these are usually corner plots in estates where you find that they are not exactly 50 by 100 because of roads and corners that are going just around them. So in that scenario, also it gives a different perspective, considering that for most of the plots, the access road is always on the 50 feet side. It's always on the narrow side of the plot. But there are plots that are at the end of the estate where you find that it has a road maybe on both sides, and you find that a different approach has to be used to actually still give the beauty and maybe take advantage of any views that are available in the estate, if it's of course a hilly estate and things like that. Yeah, so there's a scenario like this one. This is also an equivalent of a 50 by 100, but as you can see, the approach is a bit different. For this one, what we chose to do is that we make the access to actually be here on the 100 feet side, and then the compound is on the side. And as you can see in this configuration, we have a master bedroom balcony here, and we also have a balcony here that exits from the guest bedroom. Yeah, but of course there's also a small porch here that comes out of the living room on the first floor, and also, as you can see, there's a terrace at the top. These terraces also help to give some optimal use for plots that are really not so big. You can have some compound space and have some good communal space at the top of the structure. It doesn't really add so much of an extra cost, and I think it's something that is worth it. Of course, the costs usually come in the building regulations when you're adding another floor to make it 3 levels. Yeah, that might pinch you a bit in terms of the paperwork, but in terms of construction, it might not be that very expensive compared to having a 2-level building. 2-level means 2 floor in this scenario. Okay, so as you can see in this scenario, this is also a 50 by 100, and you're able to have a 4-bedroom storeyed house, and you can see you still are able to have very adequate compound space. The distance from here to here is about 15.5 meters. The distance from this point to this point is about 30.5 or 31 meters, which really gives you in total the extra 0.5 that to compensate for this space that is lost in making the corners for roads that other cars can also be able to pass here and there. Okay, so then also another scenario I might give you, this also small plot that you can see. This plot is not exactly 50 by 100 meters, it's about 20, let's say about 22 meters by another 23-25 meters, which in terms of area might give you just about the same, around 460 square meters or 11.5 decimals. And in that scenario, it's an equivalent of a 50 by 100 plot. Yeah, so as you can see, this one is actually already under construction. We were able to make use of the compound in this scenario because it was quite a hilly terrain. Yeah, so as you can see, it's also able to carry a 50 by 100, so it's able to carry a 4-bedroom house, and you're still able to have enough compound space as compared to if it were a bungalow. So in case you're considering to have a 50 by 100 plot, you might want to, if you're not limited by budget, of course, you might want to go for a storeyed house so you can have enough compound space for children to play around, to host a small birthday party, and to have enough compound space to chill in with your friends, and life can go on. A house is for living, basically. Yes, now let's go to the storeyed versions of houses on standard 50 by 100 plots. Then also looking at these same 50 by 100 plots from the storeyed house perspective, of course, it should be obvious that a storeyed house will have better utilization of space. I mean, you'll have a lot of space for parking. You'll have the house take a smaller fraction of the plot. Like you can see, actually, as you can see on my screen, most of these projects, anyone who has been watching this channel for quite some time must be familiar with them. Some of them, actually, these ones are all either under construction or already completed. For example, if we take an example of this very tiny 3-bedroom house, I think some of you know about it. Yes, this was built about 3-4 years ago, and it was actually designed to fit on a 50 by 100. It's basically just about 3 bedrooms. Of course, it was a bit modified from the design you can see on the screen, but it was really a similar concept. I think this is one of the tiniest houses that we have actually built over the last couple of years. As you can see, it had a smaller compound at the front, and also it had a lot of backyard space where it was meant to be used for farming and all that. So there was a lot of activities going on at the back, but still on a 50 by 100 plot. It was quite an innovative thing that we pulled off. Yeah. Then also there's this other one which is also currently under construction. I think we'll be giving updates soon in the near future of how far the project has progressed. We're actually building this one on a much smaller plot than a 50 by 100. It's actually about 45 by 70, and it's going to fit perfectly fine. Yeah, so if you stay glued to the channel, you are definitely going to have a look at that as well. Then also there is this one, which also you must be familiar with, but of course with this one and this other one actually also, which is under construction, these are basically much bigger houses. If I were to show you the plans of each, I might not have time to go through into the detail, but if I were to make a cut through and then I show you the plans of each of these houses, as you can see, this is now the first floor. You can see already on the first floor there is one which is the master bedroom, then there's this one, then there's also a living room which is looking down into the ground floor. Okay, then there's also another bedroom here. Already on the top there's 3 bedrooms, and in the ground floor there was actually 1 bedroom for this one in particular. So you can see that if you want something that is a bit much bigger, as you can see, this space is 50 by 100, but for these bigger houses it's about 65. It's actually about 70 by 100, around that. Yeah, so if you want something more like a mini mansion, you might want to look into spaces that are more than 70 by 100. To be precise, our 100 feet by 100 feet would be more appropriate for a larger family house with more compound space, with more space to play around with more parking space and things like that, and still have space for boys' quarters at the back. Yeah, so as you can see, this one as well, it's almost a similar concept with 2 living rooms, 1 down and 1 up. A master bedroom is also much bigger. As you can see, there's a master bedroom here with even couches. There's a walk-in closet, as you can see, with closets on all sides of the walls, and then it also has a bathtub and a shower and stuff like that. This one is slightly a much bigger house, yeah. But so if you are looking at a 50 by 100, you might want to look at smaller storeyed houses, but you can still have a 5-bedroom storeyed house on a 50 by 100 and still have enough compound. You can also as well have even a 6-bedroom. It can actually fit on a 50 by 100, but of course the bigger the house is, the smaller the compound that you will have, yeah. So for these ones in particular, they are also this one. So for these projects in particular, this one is already under construction. Most of you have watched it. I'll put a short clip of it on the screen. This one is also nearing completion. Maybe if we get a chance, we might be able to film it with, of course, with permission of the client, but we are just finishing it up and the client is planning to move in quite soon. This one is just in the beginning stages, depending on how the funds will be available for the client. Maybe hopefully in a few months it should be done, depending on if the client has the funds ready fully or not. Then this one, you must have seen it before. This was one of my favorite projects, but quite a tiny house. I'm not so much into big spaces. Of course, we've had opportunities to design even much bigger houses, much bigger mansions, but how we were able to pull this off, I'm still in awe. Okay, so I hope you guys have had some considerations to do in case you were planning to have a plot of land. You might want to look at a 50 by 100 or more, depending on your personal needs. If you're someone who's not so big on compound, you might still go for a 50 by 100. If you have an opportunity to expand and have a 100 by 100, the better even, because you could still have more space at the back for other things, little small urban farms and stuff like that, yeah. So thank you very much guys for watching, and I hope you have yourself a good time.